presents a new upcoming class. Stay tuned. Sacred Bonds by Daryl Abdullah Kirk. Yes, Sacred Bonds, navigating the depths of Muslim matrimony and the family. You don't want to miss this one. Please stay tuned. Streaming on all major platforms right here on Sunnahfollowers.net.
Wassalam ala wa Rasulullah. Again, we changed our schedule for tonight. This was supposed to be Dr. Ibrahim Jamali's class, but he's had complications with his flight back to Florida. So I'm going to fill in for him tonight. And mashallah, I'm kind of glad I did, because for this class, this is my class on the sacred bonds of marriage. And this is based on the book written by Brother Abdullah. Let me put the book up here so you can see. This is based on the book written by Brother Daryl Abdullah Kirk. It's called Sacred Bonds. And it speaks about the depths of Muslim marriage and family. And I'm kind of glad that I'm speaking about it today, because we'll be covering chapter 5 today, which I would have saved for yesterday's class, but you would have been in suspense for a week, since this class is only held once a week. We're going to speak about the topic of feminism, which is something that is really destroying our nation today. And chapter 5 basically serves as an introduction to this problem of feminism. So with that said, let's put the PowerPoint up on the screen so we can take a look. And for those of you who have not yet bought the book, please go to Amazon.com. The book is only $13. It's over 300 pages. You will enjoy it. It should be a part of your library, because it speaks about the rights and roles of women, men, and marriage and children and all of that too. So with that said, give me a second here. So we'll be covering chapter 5 today, which addresses feminism. And let's take a look, see at what we're going to be speaking about. First of all, we have found today, this is 2020 ourselves, as we've been speaking about all week. We're living in the days of fitan, the days of trials and tribulations that Allah would come to pass. We're living amongst a people who have different ideologies, different belief systems, different lifestyles that contradict what Allah said our purpose in life is. Okay? And one of these lifestyles that has transcended into our nation is the lifestyle of feminism. Feminism. When you see that pink ribbon, that's a feminist. I put this picture here. Whenever you see a pink ribbon like this hanging up on a door, hanging up on a wall or a person's house, or even like this signifies feminism. And it's a distorted version of it. Modern feminism, it has nothing to do with family. It has nothing to do with women performing the roles and obligations that Allah commanded them to do. Instead, modern feminism is a destructive force that has been harnessed by Shaitan to cause enmity and destruction and confusion within our communities. Remember, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that we would take on the behavior of the non-Muslims. Whatever their ideology is, we'll adapt it to. We'll allow it to infuse with our lifestyle too. Well, feminism It's very, very, very destructive, and it's happening. And where did it begin? It didn't, believe it or not, it didn't begin here in America. Not this type of feminism. This type of feminism began in the Arab lands. Oh yeah, places like where I'm from, Egypt. Feminism is very, very strong in Egypt. Saudi Arabia, feminism is strong. The Emirates, it's strong. Kuwait, it's strong. The Gulf, completely, it's strong. The lines, the gender roles, the gender lines have become blurred. And feminism is a powerful tool that is being used to manipulate, mislead, and divide this nation. And who's paying the cost of it? The children. We have a very high divorce rate. We have a very high apostasy rate. We have a very high teenage pregnancy rate and all of that. And feminism is one of the culprits. And again, the term feminist is rather deceptive in and of itself. The original feminist movement was nothing like the feminist movement of today. The original feminist movement was a noble cause that was calling out for equal opportunities and equal rights for women, which is something that Islam already gave to us Muslim women. It wasn't until recently in the 50s that American women were given the ability to vote. It wasn't until the early 70s that American women were able to have their own bank account, their own credit cards, and things like that without it being in the name of their husbands. Before, if a woman applied for a bank account, if she didn't have a husband, she could forget it. If she applied for a credit card, she didn't have a husband, she could forget it. So the rights of women is fairly new here in America. And those American women were fighting and advocating for the right to be equal to men spiritually, economically, and all of that, which is something that Allah has already given us, Muslim women. But that's not the case today. The modern interpretation of feminism has strayed away from these ideals. The modern day of feminism, it now promotes individualism over unity. The modern feminism today promotes self-interest over family bonds and family roles. The modern feminism contradicts Islam. You look in Muslim countries like even Egypt, you will find Muslim women wanting to be feminists so they can have the right to call the adhan. You got Muslim women crying out for feminism. They want to be able to lead a masjid in prayer. And believe it or not, Egypt and other Muslim countries are allowing this. They're allowing this. Subhanallah. You look here in America, like I did when one of my nephew was in a hospital sick. You know, they always call for an imam to come to visit. Well, instead of an imam coming to visit my nephew when he was sick, it was an imama, a woman from Syria, Arabic, Muslim woman calling herself an imama. She wanted to pray over my nephew and rub over his body and do ruqya. I had to tell her, not here, you won't. You ain't no imama here. You better go home and learn your place. You become westernized. You've deviated away from La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. So this radical shift in what modern day feminism is, it poses a great threat to society and especially to the Islamic society, the Islamic Ummah. And again, it's not just here in America. You find it in Egypt. You find it in Lebanon. You find it in other countries. Pakistan, women taking on the role of men, leading the prayers, calling the adhan, praying with the men, side by side, ankle to ankle, shoulder to shoulder. And now modern day feminism also signifies support to be LGBTQ. Did y'all know that? If you're a feminist, you also support the right to be LGBTQ. So that's how serious a problem this is, and this has become. And we as a nation have to address it head on. We as a nation, we as Daya, we need to call the people back to La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah with the understanding of those companions. We have to call the Muslims back to al-wala wal-bara. This is the problem. Our allegiance, which is the second part of that shahada, is messed up. If the Muslims around the world understood the concept of al-wala wal-bara, then there wouldn't be any feminists and all this other stuff. So it's all about coming back to the teachings of Islam. It's all about coming back to Islam and its truthfulness with the understanding of those companions. Because doing that, you will realize that Allah has given us a blueprint for everything. The blueprint on how to have a successful life in this world. The blueprint on how to have a successful life in the grave and in the hereafter. If we learn this religion and honor it, Allah has given us the blueprint. He's given us the way to balance relationships and responsibilities between men and women, husbands, wives, children, and parents. And we're going to talk about all that later on. Okay? So it's important for us as Muslims to understand that our fight is not with women. Our fight is not with the rights of women, because Allah has given the women their rights already. We talked about that. When the companions migrated to Medina after the Battle of Badr, that's the first verses of Quran after that battle were addressing the rights of women. So it's not that I, Laila Nasheeba, am opposed to women's rights. I am not opposed to women's rights. I'm a woman too. But instead, my dispute lies with the distorted version of women's rights, the distorted version of feminism, which destroys the balance that our Lord has set. Remember, we talked about it in our earlier class today. Allah has perfected our religion for us. All we have to do is abide by it. If we live within the guidelines of what he commanded, then we'd be okay. His Allah is just and fair. He made the rules, the obligations for our betterment, to protect us, to make us strong, to make us good. But this modern feminism is fueled not by Allah's laws. It's fueled by the desire for dominance rather than justice. Remember, Allah tells us in the Quran the nature of ourselves. He said the human is created criminal by nature. The soul is attracted to everything that's bad for it. The soul is attracted to everything that's dirty. Modern feminism is dirty. Modern feminism is criminal. Modern feminism destroys womanhood. It's not based on good and justice. Okay? And you will find a lot of Muslim women who support this feminism movement. They claim that they're arguing for freedom. Freedom to do what? Allah has already freed you. Your home is your domain. Before Islam, you didn't have the right to be respected. Before Islam, you had to, in order to be acknowledged as a female, you had to become a public spectacle. You had to change your voice and sound like a prostitute in order to be acknowledged publicly. You had to dress in see-through clothing, revealing your body, your hidden ornaments, if you wanted attention or recognition. So what freedom do you claim you need? Allah raised you above that. You have the right to own your own property. You have the right to work. You have the right to be heard. You have the right to protect. You have a right to sue. So what freedom are you looking for? Freedom to be a man? It's not a woman's job to lead men in prayer. It's not a woman's job to be the provider and maintainer or protector of the family. It's not the woman's job to call the adhan, because all that brings attention to her, which can end up putting her in a bad situation, because I don't care how feminine you become, you're still not a man. I don't care how tough and bad a woman you are, you still can't outbeat a man. I'm a pretty tough woman. I can take you to the ground, but I can only hold you there for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, I'm winded. I'm done. Any woman that thinks she can take out a man got a mental problem. I'm talking about take him out with her own hands and body. You got a problem. It ain't how Allah designed us. So what freedom are you searching for? And that's what I say to the Arab women out there, because again, a lot of these Arab women today are the ones screaming out for feminism. What freedom you looking for? You want the freedom to be able to date. You want the freedom to be able to have sex out of wedlock. That's what they're advocating. You want the freedom to take off your clothes and go out naked. The freedom to marry who you want to marry. And when you do that, look at a country like America where women can do all that. The women are treated like dirt still. This is a society that lacks morality, that lacks honor. The freedom that you women are searching for destroys homes. The freedom that you women are searching for pollutes the children, pollutes the earth, erodes the fabric of our society. We have to understand as Muslim women that true liberation is not found in this chaotic disruption of natural order, but true liberation is in submitting to the will of Allah. That's what makes us different than the unbelieving women. We are Muslim. Muslim means one who submits. I submit to the reality that Allah perfected everything. Allah created his creation, and he perfected it to be as he willed it to be. So I submit to his perfection. I submit to his decree. I submit to his will. That's liberation, guys. Acceptance of Allah. But the modern feminist, she doesn't see this. She wants to blur the lines. You want to go to get a job. You want to work like the men do. You want to do overtime. You want to leave your children at home with the television and the kafirs while you work 18-hour shifts like a dude. You don't want to clean the house. You don't want to cook. You want to be a man. You want to be a truck driver. You want to be a construction worker. And we wonder why our children pay the cost. So whenever the roles within the family become distorted, that's when the whole family will suffer, especially the children. The children grow up confused. Your marriage becomes a battleground, and the society that you live in begins to crumble, just like American society has crumbled. Drugs, sex, rock and roll. That's all it is here. So we have to take this situation serious as a nation. It's time for us Muslims to stand up and raise our voices against the harmful strains of modern feminism, which threatens to infiltrate our families and destroy them. We have to call each other back to Islam in its truthfulness with the understanding of those companions. We need to be the females that those original companions were. We need to look at the example of Salama, the example of Hani, Romana, Aisha, radiallahu anha, Khadija. We need to look at Khawla. We need to look at Layla. We need to look at the examples. Nusayba. Look at the examples of those original female companions and be the feminists they were. Remember, guys, whenever the prophet said, whenever we deviate away from Allah and his laws, there will be nothing but chaos. We have to also remember that as Muslims, when we declare La ilaha illallah, we're also declaring that our allegiance is to Allah and to his teachings, to his religion. We're not supposed to be swayed by the changing tides of society. We're supposed to hold on fast all together to the rope of Islam and stand firmly against anything that seeks to undermine Allah, his religion, and each other, subhanallah. How many of us are living up to this? How many of us are implementing al-wala wal-bara? As you guys can see, everything that I teach you guys, it all goes back to La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. It all goes back to allegiance. So this is chapter 5, which serves as an introduction to this topic of feminism. So I'm kind of glad that Jamali was unable to teach today, because tomorrow what we're going to do is peel back the layers of extreme feminism. And we're going to navigate the uncharted territory of men's reaction to modern day feminism. And we're going to unveil their perspectives, their motivations, and the intricate web of dynamics that arise as a result. So I'm going to stop right here for today. Tomorrow at this time, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, we're going to dive right into the feminist agenda. So make sure you guys read the book chapter 6. Make sure you all review chapter 6 so you can follow along with me as I break down and explain what feminism is and the dangers of it and what it has led to as a nation for us. So I'm going to stop right here. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.